Victor Wembanyama has finally made his NBA debut, and even though the Spurs didn't start their season off with a win, Wemby still left a pretty strong first impression on the national stage.
Time players in the league, he can have a quiet night.
I'm in danger.
He finished the game with 15 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals, and a block in only 23 minutes of play. Funny enough, his 15 points and 2 assists on 6 of 9 shooting from the field in his rookie debut is exactly the same as Tim Duncan's rookie debut. Now, prior to this first regular season game of his career, we got to see some of what he was going to be capable of during the preseason. And regardless of how you feel about putting value on preseason games when it comes to rookies, he put up some numbers that are legitimately mind-blowing. Per 75 possessions, he recorded 30.8 points, 7.6 rebounds, 2.4 assists, and 4.4 blocks per 75 possessions on 60.9% true shooting. Now, obviously, these preseason numbers are a pretty stark contrast from his regular season debut, and this limited number of minutes that we saw him play in the first game of his career is largely due to the fact that he was getting in foul trouble pretty early on in the game, and the Spurs also seem to have a pretty big question to answer about who's going to be their point guard going forward. But even though he didn't come out of the gate dropping 25 plus points and 10 rebounds, doesn't mean that there isn't a lot to be excited about. There's so much to talk about with Wemby's game, but I want to talk specifically about one aspect of his defense that I think really tells the story of why he's so well equipped to be an elite defender. Obviously, he's 7'4". That's going to inherently make you somewhat of a promising defensive presence. Then you take into consideration the fact that he has an 8-foot wingspan. But all of that stuff doesn't really matter if you can't get from point A to point B quick enough to allow that frame to have an impact defensively. The thing that sets Wemby apart from other 7+ footers that we've seen in the NBA throughout NBA history is the fact that there's no reason Victor Wembanyama should be as mobile and as athletic as he is. This defensive possession really tells that story. Starting out, Wemby is in the middle of the paint, and the Heat are going to go with a pass to Robinson to get the ball to the corner, but Wemby immediately makes the closeout. Now, one important aspect of his closeout is the fact that he closes out in a way that forces either Kane to drive baseline or drive right. Now, forcing the ball baseline is the right move for the simple reason of minimizing the space that the offensive player has to work with, but it does leave him susceptible to having to make a difficult 180-degree hip rotation if Kane tries to go right. But with Wemby, he's able to make himself so wide that Kane wouldn't really be guaranteed to get by him, so he's forced to initiate a dribble handoff with Robinson. Wemby doesn't follow Kane. Instead, he holds this corner position to be able to close out on a shot by Robinson if that's what he does coming off this screen. In theory, Robinson could try to pass to Kane as the roller, but Wemby's going to be able to cover so much ground that what would normally be considered a routine pass becomes infinitely more complicated. So they have to reset, and Wemby's going to move out to the weak side. Highsmith is going to drift along the baseline as Drew Smith drives, and he's going to dump it to Highsmith while Wemby is still more towards the weak side of the floor. Now, under normal circumstances, this shot that Highsmith takes is the right shot, especially considering the shot clock's winding down. But with Wemby, he's able to go from under the basket to closing out on this shot, and he's able to block it and send it out of bounds. This ability to cover a ton of ground helps him be a versatile defender instead of just being relegated to the paint. On this possession, J-Dub's trying to bring the ball up, and he's going to get the screen from Dort. Wemby actually overcommits a little bit to guarding J-Dub coming off the screen. So J-Dub does what he should do, which is attack Wemby's front foot to force him to flip his hips to recover. And normally this leaves a defender behind enough that they're not really as much of a threat to disrupt the play, but Wemby's going to be able to flip right around, and he stays with him, and that 8-foot wingspan is going to allow him to catch J-Dub by surprise, and he gets the block. On this side pick and roll, he's going to hang around the nail to try and deter a pass to the roller. It leaves Highsmith open up top. He closes out on him, and Highsmith is going to drive on the closeout. But look how wide he is as Highsmith gets into this drive. Highsmith is going to have to take a full step to get level with Wemby, and then Wemby's going to be able to stay in stride with him. And even though Highsmith gets airborne before Wemby does, it just doesn't really matter, considering how high Wemby can get up to disrupt shots at the rim. Now, the Warriors on this play are going to run a dribble handoff with Looney and Clay, and it's one of the most effective things the Warriors have in their arsenal of offense. Wemby is a lot lower on the floor once they start to get into this action, right? If you hadn't guessed already, he's going to be able to close out on Clay, and he's going to get the block on him after the pump fake. He's not just a switchable defender. He's a defensive anchor, a cleanup guy, and a perimeter defender all wrapped into one player. I'll be completely honest, him being able to move the way that he does just doesn't really make a ton of sense. That bizarre blend of size and mobility really already makes for one of the most bizarre defensive presences I've ever seen. And then on the offensive end, things just keep getting more and more exciting as we watch him play more. One thing that the Spurs were doing a lot of during the preseason, and then now we've seen them do it during the regular season, is actually have him come off of pin downs to be an off-screen shooter and creator, and we're gonna have to wait and see what his efficiency looks like as an off-screen shooter, but there's no question as to whether or not he looks comfortable pulling it. One specific thing that we gotta talk about with his offensive game is his ability to attack closeouts. You can really see his mobility shine when you're looking at this. He attacks this closeout, he's going to be defended pretty well by J-Dub, and Giddey comes over to shade him away from the basket. He uses a really nice change of pace to slow himself down so he can get into a spin move to go up for the shot. Now Chet is going to meet him with a nice contest, but somehow, some way, Wemby's going to be able to go up and under and get it to fall. The thing that's going to be the backbone for the Spurs offense is the two-man game between Wemby and Vassell. Even just in preseason, they already seem like they've established a pretty good amount of chemistry. On this play, he's going to initiate the dribble handoff with Vassell, allowing them to get into the pick and roll. Vassell's going to collapse the defense a bit, and he encounters the help, but Wemby's going to be open for the pass back out, allowing him to take Orlando Robinson off the dribble. And once the help defense sinks in on him, he's going to stop and drill the nice turnaround fadeaway. And honestly, good luck contesting a shot that's being released this high up. Look at where the ball is being released relative to the rim. Now here, Vassell's going to drive off of the screen from Collins, and Wemby's going to cut along the baseline to get the pass. Immediately after passing it, Vassell's going to cut into space, and Wemby's going to be able to feed him for Vassell to get to the rim and get the and one bucket. Seeing these two play so cohesively together and seeing how their skills really complement each other bodes really, really well for their future success as a duo. Now, Wemby's also showcased some really strong passing skills. He seems to have a pretty decent understanding of how his ability to score the basketball and his presence on the floor can alter a defense and create opportunities for his teammates. One of the more wild plays from preseason that we saw from Wemby was this give and go that he ran with Tre Jones. He's bringing the ball up, and Tre Jones is going to be over on the wing, and Wemby's going to pass it to him. And Wemby pretty much immediately is going to point as if he wants Tre to throw the lob. And when Tre actually passes the ball, Wemby's not even to the free throw line yet. But with Wemby, you're just able to throw it up there, and he's so long and can cover so much ground in such a short amount of time that he's probably going to be able to get it. The confidence that he has right out of the gate already is really, really promising, and honestly, he could probably do to dial it back just a little bit, and I think that's part of the reason he got into a little bit of foul trouble in this first game. He was probably being a little bit too ambitious, over helping at times and swiping at balls, leading to stupid fouls. But even despite this, he was able to do so much in such a short amount of time. I'm not quite ready to draw any definitive conclusions about the Spurs point guard situation, but there were a lot of times where Wemby was being looked off of in the post, and specifically times when he would have a mismatch on, say, Kyrie Irving, who is obviously a much smaller defender. In situations like that, you have to get him the ball. So like I said, I don't really know who the point guard of the future is for Wemby, but it's probably going to come down to who is better at getting him the ball in his spots. Now, with guys of this height, you can sit here all day and bring up hypotheticals about how is their body going to hold up over an 82-game season or a 10-year career. But to me, that's really the only thing that could stand between him and an absolutely incredible career in the NBA. Because if what we've seen so far is any indication of what's to come, then he's going to be a completely unstoppable force. So what did you guys think of Wemby's rookie debut? Do you think he's going to win Rookie of the Year? Be sure to let me know in the comments. As always, if this is your first time watching, first of all, thank you so much. Second of all, if you want to see more, be sure to subscribe, hit that notification bell so you never miss another video. As always, huge thank you to my patrons for helping support this channel and making videos like this possible. If you want to become a patron, link in the description down below. Thank you all so much for watching. I'm super excited that the NBA is back. I'm going to have a ton of stuff coming out, so be sure to stay tuned. I'll see you guys in the next one.